What's happening, Jim? You said there's rumours.
Well, only because they're in the notes. I had no idea. So I did a bit of digging, and there was some positivity, people like talking about Steve Borthwick. Have you heard anything or not?
I've heard bits.
There you go. That's why they're in the notes. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Firstly, I will say, and this isn't me being all hype and all love, but I don't get it. You've got an England team, right, who are getting better week on week, or are they? If you look at the stats, I know they're not. I know when you look at the stats, but I don't know how you can go all in on someone like Steve Borthwick and then be like, right, mate, it's the Six Nations after the World Cup. Get someone else in. And that is the kind. When I did a little bit of digging and looked at some of the articles and some of the stuff on social media, which is basically, if you look at that, then it's all truth, isn't it?
The Oracle.
Public opinion is saying that, and I don't agree that Steve Borthwick should go. I mean, it's ridiculous to even think that would be the case. But I would say as well, and maybe then you can talk about it, mate. It's a pressure job. It's a high pressure job. There's an expectation being England coach in any sport. So football, as we know, but rugby union as well, there's an expectation. And I go back to it. You finished third in the World Cup in France. I think it's looking like there are signs of progression. And then you look at the Prem and not being able to pick players outside of the Prem. And there's a few issues, I think, administratively that they need to look at. But that's just my opinion.
What do you see as the progression, James?
I see the progression is they're bringing in Felix Jones. So they're bringing in a World Cup winner. So they're changing up their defence, which, as we know, takes time. They are wanting to attack more. So in their mind and the conversations that they're having, so they are appeasing the fans, which I don't think they should do. I've always said that. I don't think they need to play a way in which people talk about saying they need to play a quicker, more attractive style of rugby. I love the way they played against South Africa, but they are trying to do that. They've got Jamie George as captain, where a lot of people would have gone down that route and said, we want Jamie George, we want a better or a more charismatic leader. I think they're giving the fans more from a content and access point of view. I think they're picking players that they're allowed to pick from.
They're doing the grip test.
Doing the grip test and the banter test. But I think you look at what they're doing as well with, they're picking the best players. So if you go through that squad.
Are they Zach Mercer?
Well, he's one. But again, that you look at this back row, look at how good the back row is. But players that have been informed, players that we've been talking about on the pod, like Feo Boso, the Northampton backs.
Hold on, Feo Boso got 10 minutes when we'd lost.
Yeah, but they're not going to throw him straight in. But if I was them, I would do. But he's in and around the squad. We were talking about Ethan Roots, how good he has been. He kind of got fast-tracked into the squad as well. Sam Underhill, Ben Earl's playing now. Alex Mitchell's been playing as well, and we've been talking him up. So I think there are obviously, that's our opinion, right? But there's going to be conversations around, should he go all in on Finn Smith? We both got an idea of what we think around that. Marcus Smith hasn't been fit. Manu Tuolangi's not been fit. Ollie Lawrence came straight back in. So he's picking the best players, bar a couple that we, again, could sit and chat to him about and be like, right, we think Zach Mercer should be in because it's different of so-and-so. Can't pick Jack Willis. Can't pick Henry Arundel. Can't pick these lads that are not playing outside. Sorry, he can't pick these lads that are playing outside the Prem. So from a very neutral point of view, I'm looking at it and being like, I don't get where all the niggle is.
I think the niggle's come, and it's come apparently from inside the camp around what's going on in the camp. So, and just quoting two very recent retired internationals that have been in the environment under Steve, in the environment under Eddie Jones, Johnny May and Ben Youngs, both said that attack is an afterthought. Both said, all we really focus on is defence, set piece, kick chase, kicking game, which are huge components of the game. And I think the frustration is coming from, yes, I don't think they're trying to marry up, we're just going to chuck it around everywhere because that's what the fans want to see, because that doesn't work. But the detail and the time given to that facet of the game in training is where I believe the frustrations come from within the camp. And however it's been leaked, however things have come about, listen, Ben Youngs and Johnny May have said it on different podcasts, and they've been there. They've openly said that Eddie Jones, players didn't know really structurally what was going on in attack. because it wasn't really thought about. It was like every focus was on defence and getting a turnover and set piece and pressure game and all that stuff. And, that is an important part of it. What you've said, and I agree, he's picking these players, but he's not marrying up why he's picking them and what they're doing at club level and how they're playing at club level to how England are performing. And we saw that structurally in attack against Scotland. We looked lost when we had the ball after 15 minutes. First 15 minutes were great. We scored the try off the set piece and there's some half decent shape. There was some horrific shape in the first 15 minutes. Go back to the first line out when George Ford passed it back 20 metres to Henry Slade. We're 20 metres away from the gain line. And that looks like a team that hasn't worked on attack too much. And yes, you get tries and create pressure from your defence and all this stuff, but you play rugby to get your hands on the ball, or 99.9% of players want their hands on the ball, want to run round someone, run over someone, run through gaps, put someone into space, use your hands. And I don't think, and what I believe, what I hear and what I listen to, there's anywhere near enough focus on that. That should be every team's focus on, you don't go out on the training field and have no balls, do you? In training. We play the game we're fucking chasing a rugby ball around the field, whether passing it, creating space, kicking it. But if you're not working on it in training, you're not giving it enough time. And there was the rumour that came out, and whether it's true or not, that one back touched the ball once in a session for England in attack. Now,
and where has that come from? Say rumours. So
it's come from inside the camp somewhere. No, that's come from inside the camp, and it's leaked. And however that is, and listen, you've been in environments. I've been in environments where, and we hear all these things around. Everyone says, "Oh, it's a great environment to be in," when it's fucking not. And I'm not saying that about England. I'm saying that about, there's always underlying tones with, at club level. Some people love the coach, some people don't like the coach loves some people, the coach doesn't love some players. And there's always underlying currents, isn't there? Because you can't keep 40 players in a club team or 36 players in an England squad happy, because you can only pick 15 to start the game and 8 on the bench, right? And it's how long you bite your lip for. It's how long you can hold back your frustration, and whether it's a player that's not being picked or doesn't agree with how they're being played. And we know now that there's way more player power now than there was in our day. We just had to shut up and get on with it, didn't we? Whether we agreed or not. And that evolved over time. And now players, rightly so, have a big part to play and say in how a team plays and is set up. And, going back to the Owen Farrell thing, how confident were a lot of the players to challenge certain things around the team? Well, I can tell you now, a lot of them wouldn't say boo to a goose when Faz was skipper and Eddie Jones was in charge and Steve was in charge, and how they set the team up. And rightly or wrongly, they came third. So it worked to that extent. But now, we're trying to evolve, but it's all right talking about it. There's not apparently enough work being done in the training pitch, on the training pitch, in the time they have collectively together. And they have more time, England, than Scotland. They have more time than Wales together. So Steve will, and he has used the reason, new team, we haven't got a massive amount of training time. And sometimes you don't have massive training time, but when the frustrations are coming out from the players, and let's not forget, the players are on the field doing the job, and they're the ones that are openly criticised after the Scotland game. So at some point when the players are getting it, they'll eventually go, well, hang on a minute, you're criticising us for our attack and being disorganised and, not firing a shot after 18 minutes against Scotland. Fucking didn't know what we were doing because we don't work on it in training. And then it comes back. So I know Steve will be raging with the supposed leaks that have come out in the camp. And he will go, from knowing what Steve is and how he is, he will go to the nth degree to find out who has leaked what and maybe jettison that player. And that's the way Eddie Jones did it with Danny Kerr, if you remember. Took him out of the team for 4 years because he questioned how the team was playing and how, his role and all that stuff. So Eddie Jones just flicked him off. So there was that fear factor of players not questioning authority. And now, ultimately at some point, when you're getting heat from the press, from the fans, from anyone, podcasts, whatever, at some point a player's going to defend himself and go, actually, the fucking truth is we work on defence, kick chase, set piece, and our attack is an add-on at the end or something like that, which is the kind of the feeling that's come out. So, I know Elliot Daly came out in the week and he said, we know exactly how to attack against Ireland. We were very clear in our attacking plan now and all this stuff. So you can only judge players on what they say in the press and the noises coming out of the camp. And they've been hugely positive under Jamie George. And I completely agree. Brilliant bloke, brilliant character. Is that foil between, Steve and the players. And now there's more empathy with players being more confident to say what they think within the group. And, you're picking these players that are playing the way they're playing in the Prem, and then you're asking them to play a different way, or you're not preparing them in the way to play to their strengths. And eventually, someone's either going to say something, you're going to get berated for performances. So it forces the players to actually defend themselves. And that's perhaps where we are. And this weekend's game, I'm not advocating getting rid of Steve necessarily. I don't think Steve is the right man for head coach. I'll be very honest. You look at his credentials and people go, yeah, he won the Prem with Leicester. And, he hasn't had a massive amount of head coach experience. Now we are supposedly, and I say we, some people might go, you're so arrogant. England is supposed to be the biggest rugby union in the world. And I'm going to say we've probably got one of the least experienced coaching panels as our head coach, assistant coaches. All good blokes and all good coaches in their own right. Steve, people talk about his detail. He is, anyone that's been coached by him in terms of forwards, line-outs, the detail of that. And Jim, you'll have experience of knowing what that's like. He's phenomenal at that. Is he a head coach? He did the job for a short amount of time at Leicester. He was always going to get the job after Eddie Jones because he's Eddie Jones's protege. My big thing on it is Richard Wigglesworth, mate of mine, inexperienced coach, coaching the attack. That's where we're struggling a bit. Felix Jones has come in and double World Cup winner, amazing. And we're seeing that evolution of our defence. Tom Harrison's a scrum coach, not a massive amount of top class experience. He was at Leicester as the scrum coach for a few years, and then...
Yeah, when you look at it like that, when you do
Kevin Sinfield,
like
great
that,
bloke, moving aside, and he is an inexperienced rugby union coach.
And he'd say that. And he would. He probably says that. He says, I'm not experienced. So when you say it like that, and you actually look at the top 5, 6, 7 teams, and I put Wales in that as well, like with Warren Gatland being back, or even when you had Wayne Pivac, and having done what he's done at the Scarlets, then was moved into that role, and it was a job too big for him, it seemed. And Gregor went back and forth. He was assistant coach. He was head coach of Glasgow for many years. So I suppose when you look at it like that, you do have a point. And you look at like the All Blacks with Ian Foster, and now Razor's in charge, and he's been waiting for years. He's the head coach of the Barbarians. He's done everything that he's done at the Crusaders, not just for one season where Steve, I suppose, was chopping and changing. And it's the coaches underneath, right? Like that's, we were going to get Jason Ryan on here, who's one of the All Blacks coaches, and his kind of years and years of experience in that role. And actually, when you outline it like that, Andrew, then you have a point. And I suppose if you look as well, you've lost Owen Farrell. You've now got George Ford in there. They probably wanted to play Marcus Smith and give him the keys to the kingdom to attack like a Harlequin style, and everything revolve around him. But yeah, I think when you are one of the biggest unions, I'm going to say you're one of them, not the biggest union, you want more. And I suppose this game against Ireland at the weekend, and all the fans that are paying to go and everyone watching it, they're going to want to see England win, but they also want to see an attacking style of play. But also,
I think there'll be a few Irish that don't want to see England winning, mate. There'll be a lot of Irish.
Exactly, true. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. But the thing is, with England, the only way they beat Ireland is by not playing rugby. You play rugby against Ireland in the form that they're in, you ain't winning that game. So the only way you beat Ireland is kick as the balls and hope for them 50-50s and the crew. You think you can play against Ireland?
Who's beating them?
Yeah.
New Zealand.
But that's the all. Yeah. But that. Yeah.
Right. New Zealand beat them.
Oh, mate, but we.
And how did New Zealand beat them?
On the edge. Right. Going ballistic.
So if you and we've played Ireland, the last 4 times we've played Ireland, we've gone in with the same game plan. Let's kick. Let's play pressure. They'll fucking soak that up, mate. They don't make errors under pressure. Now, yes, we have to have our blitz defence, and our blitz defence is new, and it might test them in a different way than we tested them before, but You've got to get the ball to the edge. You've got to fucking...
Is that right? Me saying that, getting on the edge. I've just kind of thrown that out there. I can't remember the game.
Yeah.
But obviously, Ireland, best team in the world,
the All Blacks attacked and played at a pace that, look at the fucking Irish, they couldn't walk at the end because of how intense it was. And you're going to have to score 30-odd points to beat Ireland now because their attack is so good that you're going to have to score tries. So the way to score tries, yes, you might get a couple of turnovers and, an intercept, or you can't base your game on that. You can't go, we'll put pressure on and we'll get an intercept. That can be a consequence of good defence, but you have to have an attacking mindset and you have to put them under pressure in the wide channels. We talk about their defence, and we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. Their defence is very good, very well organised. They're very good. One tackle, one bullet, going over the ball, across the field, whoever's competing. And then they've got 13 men, hopefully, for their point of view, on their feet to defend phase after phase after phase. But the way to beat them is through playing at a pace, getting quick ruck speed, and I think England's is probably one of the slowest ruck speeds in the I think England's ruck speed is one of the slowest in the Six Nations. You have to get to an edge. You have to have two sides to attack from. Once you've got to the edge, come back and put their defence under pressure. If we just go to a slow kick it, try and maul them, try and physically outmuscle. We ain't physically outmuscling Ireland, are we?
Yeah, but when was the last time England played like that? When was the last time you could go back and say, right, England play two-sided attack, getting out to the edge, quick ruck ball?
That's the point. That's what I'm saying about we need an evolution. I would rather us have a crack and lose by 30 by putting wits on it, making errors, whatever. We talked about Feo Weboso. Get his fucking hands on the ball as much as possible. Is he going to be
playing? Is he allowed to play?
He had an exam last week.
Okay, that's why. Yeah, mate,
he has to start, right? But look at his impact against Scotland, and people will go, "Oh yes, he scored the try." Every time he touched the ball, he's having a dig. He's getting over the gain line. He is meters after contact, and they're the key stats, right? Meters after contact. If England don't make any meters after contact against this Ireland defence, we ain't going anywhere, right? So you have to have meters after contact, faster ruck speed, so you're over that gain line. And it's not just about winning a collision, it's about your footwork, it's about the detail of the attack. It's about the layers of attack, it's about the options that a ball carrier has. If he's out there, whoever it is, on his own, and it's like, he's coming on his own, there's no option outside, there's no option out the back, there's no structure in their attack, so we can go and we'll boom 3 defenders and smash them, then you get slow ball, Ireland get turnovers. So we have
you're wanting England to play like Ireland in order to beat them. Different layers of attack, footwork before, taking the ball to the line. Yeah. You ain't playing like the Irish, mate.
No, but that's what... The only team to have beaten Ireland over the last however many years was 2 teams. France beat them in the Six Nations a couple of years ago. And remember that game?
Yeah.
The most intense, high ball in play time. They just won. High ball in play time. Right? New Zealand, they beat them in the first test down there 2 years ago, whenever it was. And they played at a fast tempo. Sexton came off and Ireland made errors, and New Zealand profited, and then New Zealand beat them in the quarterfinal by playing at a tempo. So if you go into a game with, we're going to play territory, we're going to kick it, we're going to pressurise them, we're not going to attack them too much, we ain't beating them. And that's what we've done the last 4 times and we've lost by say 15 points or whatever it is, and everyone's like, you did all right. We're never going to beat them playing that way. And I'll just say this to you, Jim. Ireland play Scotland in that last game, right? In the Aviva Stadium, and possibly for Ireland to go back-to-back Grand Slams, first team to have ever done it in the Six Nations period. How are you wanting Scotland to play against them? Are you wanting Scotland to get it into those wider channels and have a crack and put them under pressure? Or are you wanting Scotland to think, do you know what, let's tighten it up a bit, let's play a kick game. That's the way to beat them. If you're Scotland, what are you saying?
Mate, it's so difficult, isn't it? Because you look at the stats of Ireland and they're number 1 for everything.
Yeah.
So if I'm Scotland or if I'm England this week and thinking, how do I beat them? You've got to slow the ball down at the breakdown. So
Jacqueline is off the charts.
Jacqueline's king. But for me, attack doesn't even come into my mind. I'm not even thinking attack, but you are right.
What's your name? Steve Borthwick?
But this is what I mean. You've sold it to me now because you're saying we've got to score 30 points, which we know Scotland can do. But if you look at the World Cup, and they just wiped the floor with us with their intensity in which they played. We just couldn't get into the game. It was impossible. But if I'm England, I'm like, well, I've actually got a game plan that I think would trouble Ireland because we've got Sam Underhill at the breakdown, we've got Ben Earl at the breakdown, we've got a good maul. You chat to Bernard Jackman, their one Achilles heel is their scrum. So actually, you do maybe want a dogfight and you want a scrum penalty, kick to the corner, line out drive. Marrow's getting better and better every single week. They're bringing that kind of England crowd behind them at Twickenham. Whereas Scotland, we don't have that game plan. Like, we aren't hugely dominant at scrum time. Yeah, we've got a decent line out. So our game plan is how you want England to play. Yeah. You're very jealous, Andrew. You're very jealous.
But I'm just looking back at Ireland's recent results, right? So
what was the game last year? What was the score last year when England run them close and Freddie Stewart got
29-16? It was never close.
It felt close. It felt close, though.
Yeah.
I know that I think they ran away at the end, like a couple of tries at the end. I'm maybe just throwing that ridiculous comment out there because in my mind it was close. But that was the game plan. That was like kickers of balls. Like for me, I think Freddie Stewart comes back in and
as an England fan, it wasn't close.
Bank out. Yeah.
As an England, in my opinion. So you go back to the games. Ireland against Wales, 31 points they scored. Ireland against Italy, 36. Ireland against France, they scored 38. Quarter-final, Ireland scored 24. New Zealand scored 28. Group stage of the World Cup, Ireland 36, Scotland 14. The only game that they haven't scored many points was the group stage game against South Africa, 13 points to 8. But that's playing South Africa, which is a whole different beast, right? Tonga, they scored 59, Romania 82. Okay, you keep going. 29 points against England in August last year, 33 against Italy, 29 against England in the Six Nations last year. They scored 22 away up at Scotland, 34 against Italy, 32 against France in the Six Nations. You keep going back, they're scoring 30 plus points pretty much every game.
Yeah, it's a great point, mate. It's a really great point.
In my opinion, that's just, we can play a risk-averse game plan like you're talking about, and we lose by 15 points, right? And then we go, we had a chance. But did we really? So I think we need to, and I said it in a column last week for Rugby Pass, like, we've got to throw caution to the wind, because what we learning if we're not? Like, it'll just be same old. And yes, you have to have those components in your game. I'm not saying jouer from under your sticks, but if you've got attacking intent, if you're trying to exhaust players like Tyg Furlong by moving the ball, players like Andrew Porter, Sheehan's a fucking absolute machine at hooker. McCarthy's a big boy. We are going to have to move the ball and play at a pace so that at the end of the game, they are walking like they were against New Zealand, trying to empty their tank to win a game. And that's just my opinion, and that's probably why I'm not a coach. I didn't want to become a coach because they work too hard, but you know what I mean?
But on that, Andrew, it's going to be how they make up the team. So this backline scares me. So if you were to put a team out for England, and if I'm an Irish player and I'm seeing Alex Mitchell, I'm seeing Marcus Smith, I'm seeing Manu Tuolangi, Ollie Lawrence in the centre, I'm seeing Feo Woboso, I'm seeing Freddie Stewart, and I'm seeing like a George Furbank or, a Tommy Freeman on the left wing. Like, I'm thinking, like, that's a proper backline, albeit they haven't played together. So then the question comes around the connections, and this is where I think Scotland are really good, because you've got Sione Tuipulotu and Hugh Jones. Like, they play at the same club. I know Sione's injured.
Not for the next 2 games, James.
You know what I mean? But as in, like, but then Finn Russell, and you've got Cam Redpath, that connection that they had, and we saw how that unlocked England for that kind of one opportunist moment. So, but if you're saying basically fuck it, let's go out there and do something against Ireland, you need to make up the team then, don't you? Like, accordingly. Yeah, that's what you need to do.
And that back line you spoke about then can play both ways. Can play abrasive, can play out the line, can be physical, but can also get the ball to the wider channels and put Ringrose under pressure. Give him 3 people down his channel to make decisions, and then you got to have accuracy to profit. And Ireland are fucking
that's
good.
A threat, isn't it,
Ireland. Oh, good. I'm trying to convince myself.
Imagine though, if you're Marcus Smith, right, you've got the option at the line, you've got the option to kick pass, okay, very simpleton. But you've got Feo Oboso on your shoulder, who we know makes meters every time he carries the ball. You've got Manu on a short line. You've got Ollie Lawrence on an out to in line out there. Do you know what I mean? You think about them options that you've got, as good as the defence is, if you can get that right on the line, you could live with any team.
Look at your
in the
detail,
world, but it's
Jim.
Ireland.
You're an England fan now, are you?
I want England to win, mate. I want it to be the Fan Slam decider in Paddy's weekend,
James.
which will be epic. But I don't know. I just feel like from the outside looking in, and again, going based on the feel of the game as opposed to watching it back loads. I think England are so stuck in they don't know what to do with how they want to play. Yeah, it's quite obvious how they should play and build on the layers, but you think differently, and obviously you're thinking differently because you need to score 30 points to beat Ireland, like you've just said. But it's going to be a hell of a game. Like I think the England-Ireland game, that's the game of the weekend, right? It's always epic. And Ireland, do they get complacent?
No chance.
Tough place to go and play.
No
Huge
chance
history between the two teams. I don't know. I don't know where it's come from. Maybe it's just.
Is this from the tweet?
What tweet?
Your tweet that said the Six Nations results don't go the way that everyone thinks they're going to go this week.
Oh, it could be Italy.
Oh, I thought that's what,
Scotland.
Italy beat Scotland.
Yeah, burnt history. I don't know. I'm really looking forward to it. That's it.
Yeah.
I think games are hard to predict. That's what I feel like. But I'll just home advantage. Don't know. Just I could feel something coming from England.
Pod.
Rugby pod.